Hey y'all, welcome back to this week's episode of AMA Friday with Amy Miller, Recruiting in Yoga Pants. I'm back. So, first video in 4 weeks. We've not had a video for 4 weeks. I can't believe I broke my streak. But I went on vacation. I was gone for 3 weeks and then I got like really deathly ill for about 10 days. So it was rough. It was rough. I did not go back to the office when intended. Still recovering, but feeling much better. So thanks to everybody who sent well wishes and checked on me. And at least 3 people missed me. So thanks. Appreciate you guys. But this week, we have an important topic to dig into. I've kind of touched on this before, so I'll link to the video about how recruiters earn and keep the trust of their hiring managers, because I think this is all related. But I do want to unpack the myth or misconception that recruiters can override a hiring manager decision. I don't want to say definitively, yes, we absolutely can, or no, we absolutely never can, because there are nuances to all of this, as you can imagine, right? But this is a common complaint, and I've seen numerous posts and just comments and things where job seekers are angry because, well, this hiring manager wanted to interview me and the recruiter said no. What's up with that? Why is a recruiter allowed to do that? We're going to dig into that. But before we do that, I want to make a special announcement. While I was on vacation, I posted a picture of my husband and I hiking through Alaska. We were on a path, like this actual like national park path, but it's an active bear area, and the salmon were spawning. We saw like thousands of salmons come home to die. I mean, it was wild. It was a really cool hike. But I posted this picture, you can see here, and I asked y'all to caption it. And I promised the winner a little Recruiting in Yoga Pants swag bag. So I'm very, very excited to announce our winner is Cassandra. Cassandra, I'm going to say your name wrong, Glubzinski. I hope I got that right. Cassandra, look for a message from me. I will DM you to get your preferences so I can send you a little care package from Recruiting in Yoga Pants. So she made a hilarious caption for the picture. I was cracking up. I laugh every time I see it. So thanks for playing. There were some amazing, hilarious comments, but I just couldn't quit Cassandra's. That was fantastic. So thank you. Okay. Sorry, guys. I start talking too much and then I start, okay. Anyway, can I override a hiring manager? Do I have the authority to tell a hiring manager no if they really want to say yes to someone? Not exactly. So the post that inspired this, a woman made a post on LinkedIn, job seeker, very frustrated, and understandably so. First of all, I'm very, very empathetic to the situation because it sucks. But she created a post about how she had talked to a hiring manager. Hiring manager wanted to bring her in for final interviews. She has about 2 years of experience in this field, and the job requirement was 5 years of experience. Okay. So with that context in mind, this job seeker is now introduced to the recruiter with the expectation that she's going to move to this final interview. The recruiter is looking at all the information and goes, wait, hold up. We can't move forward. You don't have enough experience. This would not be a good use of everyone's time. As you can imagine, job seeker was not happy with this information. So there are now 2 questions that come out of this. Okay, number 1, are we really leaning on years of experience? Is 2 years versus 5 years that big of a difference that this person is now not qualified because they're missing a few years of experience? That's problem number 1. And then problem number 2, the hiring manager had already made the decision to bring this person in and the recruiter saying, no, you're not. Is that allowed? Is that possible? Is that fair? So let's look at both. First, the years of experience. This is a frustrating one, and I understand why people are scratching their head at this and going, what in the hell? That's completely unfair. That's a bullshit measure. I don't disagree with you. However, I'm not going to repeat what I've already said on this topic, but I will link to my years of experience video. I do talk about years of experience as a measurement on job descriptions, why we have to use it, how we should be using it properly. I don't know in this particular case, did that math get done? Did that conversation happen ahead of time? Is 5 truly the absolute minimum and reflective of a larger scope of work, proven history, and ability to do a thing versus just an arbitrary number? Okay. I don't have the answer to that question in this case, but that's where that would come into play, is if there'd been a discussion with the hiring team and an agreement made that the depth of experience, the scope and scale we need would look like this. Okay. So go check out that video before you start yelling at me about years of experience. But here's the second part, and I think the bigger part. Manager had already said yes, the recruiter's saying no, and is putting a stop to it before it starts. Is that fair? Friends, I have been that recruiter. Now, I don't know how this was handled by the manager or the recruiter in this particular instance. We only know what the candidate experienced and the assumptions that, she's making, which I'm not saying she's wrong, but again, the assumptions being made based on the limited information and visibility that she had into the process. But I've been that recruiter. And I've had a manager show up at my office and say, hey, I really like this person. I want to interview them for my open job. Okay. Well, so this person is actually not qualified for your open job. So when you and I met, we talked about particular requirements. This person does not have those requirements. So are you recreating your job now? And they're like, what do you mean? You can build your team however you see fit. It is not for me to tell you that you should or should not interview somebody with 2 years of experience when you wanted 5 years of experience. But for compliance purposes, in order to do the right thing, in order to set the candidate up for success, we want to make sure that we are interviewing them for the right role. We are establishing the right interview panel that knows the questions to ask and the expectations that would be appropriate for a person at this stage in their career, and that you have the proper head count to use for a person and role that looks like that. So did you have a second role you wanted to interview them for, or are you repurposing your existing role? I can't tell you how many times I've had managers just stare at me and say, well, no, I need somebody with all that experience. Okay, so why are we interviewing this person? Because you're either serious about this candidate or you're not. Because if you are, we will make it work. I will bend, I will flex, I will turn things upside down in order to create the right opportunity so that this person is now set up for success. But if you, the hiring manager, are not willing to make that change, why am I the bad guy that has to go tell the candidate no? That's the real question here. Now, again, I don't want to make any assumptions about what was happening on the back end or who said what to whom or what agreements may have been achieved. I don't know. But I tell you, if I had a nickel for every time a manager pulled this shit, I would have a sock full of nickels that I could just smack myself in the head with, knock myself out, and take a nap. Okay? So it is very easy, and I understand the urge, and I feel terrible that this job seeker went through this. It had to be so frustrating. But understand, y'all, that recruiters are not gatekeepers because we're trying to ruin people's lives or we don't care about you and your experience. We're gatekeeping because we've been told, we've been given parameters, we've worked really hard to make sure that our hiring strategy is what the business needs. And if you have a manager coming in and trying to change it at the 11th hour for one person, we have to ask them questions. Because if we already have 3 senior people that we're interviewing, and the manager comes in at the last minute with a junior person, no offense, junior folks, but this happens. Oh, I want to interview this person instead. Okay, so you're changing the entire scope of the role. What do I tell the other 3 people? I want to make sure I'm clear on this. I want to make sure that I understand the hiring problem that we're solving and that we're solving it the right way. Recreating the role, changing the interview panel, asking different questions, whatever it is. These are the hard decisions that hiring managers have to make, but I don't want you as the job seeker to automatically assume that the recruiter is just on a power trip or is just making arbitrary decisions without factoring in all these other things we've talked about in those 2 videos that I shared. The hiring manager recruiting relationship and the years of experience video. Once again, my assumption, you know what happens when you assume, but based on the limited information that I have, my assumption is that this is a manager who, when told, hey, you can interview, but that's a different rec, that's a different scope of work, we have to make some changes, probably changed their mind very quickly. The recruiter definitely delivered a difficult message, but you know what they say about shooting the messenger? The hiring manager made that decision. I would almost guarantee it. So, if you find yourself in this situation, if you are this job seeker, my recommendation to you, reach back out to the hiring manager. I just want to make sure I'm clear on the next step. I understand the original role was looking for this. I only have that. The recruiter actually paused my interview until we can confirm that you have a role for me. When can I expect to hear back from the recruiter or yourself? Put this back in the hiring manager's court, because if they've made the conscious decision to not rework their position or to not create a new position or use their headcount in a way that fulfills a promise to you, which is that, hey, I want to interview you, that's the hiring manager, not the recruiter. There is very, very little chance that a recruiter is being empowered to make these judgment calls without buy-in from lots of other people above the recruiter and probably the hiring manager too. Please keep that in mind before you start yelling and bitching and complaining and blaming. I understand the urge. I do, believe me, I get it. But y'all have to understand how hiring happens and what kinds of restrictions or rules or policies recruiters and managers alike might be up against. That hiring manager should be able to hire however they see fit. They should be able to use their headcount in a way that makes sense for them and their org. But remember, we are creating roles because we are solving a business problem, not because, hopefully, well, I really like my neighbor's, cousin and I really want to make a job for them. Not always the best strategy. Just a thought. All right, I hope that helps. It was a little bit of a long one, but this is just, I really want y'all to understand how this stuff works and channel your frustration and especially your questions to the right people. That hiring manager owed you an update on why they went the route that they did. Not the recruiter. The hiring manager made that call. They're the ones that should be answering for it. All right, y'all. I hope that helped. I hope I feel better next week. Cassandra, watch for your DM from me. We're very excited to get that little package out to you. And we will see you next week.